What if I told you that one of the most powerful men in the world has been scrambling behind the scenes to keep his name out of documents that could blow everything wide open? For years, whispers about Jeffrey Epstein's secret files have fueled speculation, but now the pressure is reaching a breaking point, and Donald Trump may no longer be able to hide. Every move he's made recently, from sending Congress home early to staging bizarre stunts in front of cameras, points to one thing: desperation. Because once these files are made public, the truth about who knew what and when could send shockwaves through Washington and far beyond. But here's the twist. It's not just political enemies he's fighting off. Inside his own circle, Trump is turning on allies he once called loyal friends. And the backstabbing happening right now may be the clearest sign yet that the walls are closing in. The first thing Trump tried to do was simple: make everyone look the other way. Last month, he and his close ally Mike Johnson pulled a desperate move, sending Congress home early. The hope was that with Washington out of session and the media chasing new stories, people would stop asking questions about Epstein. But that gamble backfired. Instead of dying down, the curiosity only grew louder. Then came the stunts. Cameras caught soldiers stationed in Washington with nothing to do, an image so bizarre that even longtime journalists called it humiliating. Commentators like Lawrence O'Donnell flat out said the whole thing was a smokescreen, designed for one purpose: keep attention off the Epstein files. But the distraction strategy collapsed in court. A federal judge slammed the Justice Department's latest maneuver, calling it exactly what it was: a diversion. The judge reminded everyone that the government wasn't just sitting on a few transcripts. It was sitting on over 100,000 pages of Epstein documents, interviews, and evidence. And those pages, far more than the scraps Trump wanted the public to focus on, are where the real story lives. Trump thought he could buy time with theatrics. Instead, he drew even more attention to the very scandal he wanted to bury. And with Congress returning, his window to control the narrative is shrinking fast. But if distractions weren't enough, Trump needed something more. And that's when the fight inside his own administration turned brutal. As the distractions failed, attention shifted back to the one thing Trump couldn't run from: the Epstein files themselves. For years, officials promised transparency. But every time the public got close, the release was delayed, blocked, or watered down. And now, even Trump's own former Attorney General, William Barr, has admitted under oath that there's nothing stopping the current Attorney General from releasing every word today. That testimony was a bombshell. It confirmed what many already suspected. The decision to hold back isn't about protecting victims. It's about protecting names. Trump has reportedly been briefed multiple times on how often his name appears in the files and in what context. That revelation alone explains his frantic attempts to control the story before it breaks loose. And the pressure isn't just coming from journalists. Members of Congress like Robert Garcia have openly demanded the files be released in full. No cherry-picking, no redactions that hide key connections. Garcia even pointed out that while Republicans try to slow-walk witness testimonies, the reality is much simpler. The Attorney General has the power to drop the entire archive right now. Every day the files remain hidden, speculation grows. And the more Trump resists, the more people wonder what's inside that he doesn't want them to see. But inside Trump's circle, the fight over these files didn't just create tension, it sparked a power struggle that turned former allies into bitter rivals. Behind the cameras and headlines, a fierce battle was brewing inside Trump's own team. At the center of it all were three names: Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and Pam Bondi. Reports say Patel, frustrated by how the Epstein files were being handled, confided to his circle that he was ready to walk away. His breaking point? The growing influence of Pam Bondi, Trump's Attorney General, who refused to release more documents and seemed determined to keep the files locked up. Patel went as far as telling allies that if Bongino left the administration, he'd resign too. The tension wasn't subtle. Bondi and Bongino clashed openly over whether to reveal more about Epstein, and their feud left Trump with a choice: Bondi or Bongino. One of them had to lose. In the end, Trump made his decision clear. By elevating Bondi and backing her authority, he effectively sidelined Bongino and left Patel hanging in the wind. Bondi's power only grew stronger. Her recent public appearances were taken as proof she felt untouchable. As one conservative insider bluntly put it, "She made it through. She's going to be fine." But in Trump's world, being fine rarely lasts, because loyalty isn't permanent, and when the pressure builds, even his closest allies can find themselves under the bus. and the way Trump handled Patel's loyalty would prove just how ruthless he was willing to be. For years, Trump leaned on Kash Patel as one of his most loyal defenders. Patel was the insider who never wavered, the guy who pushed back against critics and carried out Trump's agenda without hesitation. But when the Epstein scandal started heating up, loyalty suddenly meant nothing. Instead of standing by Patel, Trump chose Bondi. He backed her strategy of silence and secrecy, even as Patel and Bongino pushed for answers. That decision sent a clear message. Trump was willing to sacrifice anyone to shield himself from the fallout. Behind closed doors, Patel reportedly felt betrayed. He had drawn his line in the sand, but Trump didn't blink. By turning his back on Patel, Trump not only fractured his own inner circle, but also revealed just how desperate he was to keep the Epstein files buried. Bondi, meanwhile, acted as if the storm had passed. With Trump's support, she moved forward with confidence, granting interviews on Fox and projecting strength as if the controversy was behind her. But what Bondi failed to realize is that this scandal doesn't disappear just because she feels secure. For Trump, the problem isn't over. The real fight is just beginning. And outside of the White House, Congress was preparing to make sure this story didn't die, no matter how many allies Trump turned against. While Trump was busy shuffling allies inside his administration, lawmakers on the outside were sharpening their knives. Congressman Robert Garcia became one of the loudest voices pushing for full transparency. He didn't just demand the release of the Epstein files, he called out Trump's team directly, insisting that the documents were already sitting on Pam Bondi's desk, ready to be made public. And Garcia wasn't alone. Representatives like Ro Khanna and even Republican Thomas Massie joined the chorus, reminding everyone that this wasn't about partisan politics. It was about victims finally getting their voices heard and about exposing anyone who played a role in covering up Epstein's crimes. The testimonies added fuel to the fire. Bill Barr himself admitted that the Attorney General had the authority to release everything immediately. No more excuses, no more waiting until Friday, or hiding behind selective redactions. If Bondi wanted to, she could drop the entire file tomorrow. That single fact turned into a rallying cry. Every delay, every distraction, every stage stunt only strengthened the perception that Trump and his allies were hiding something. And that raised the stakes for what might be inside those files. And at the center of all the speculation was one piece of the puzzle that could flip everything upside down: the mysterious client list. If there's one detail that keeps people glued to this story, it's the question of who appears on Epstein's client list. For years, whispers have swirled about powerful names, celebrities, politicians, billionaires, but the full truth has never been revealed. And that secrecy has only fueled speculation. Online forums and social media have exploded with theories. Some claim the delay is meant to shield not just Trump, but an entire web of elites who would rather their ties to Epstein remain buried forever. Others believe that the list could expose unexpected names, people the public has never even suspected. None of this has been verified, but the longer the files remain locked away, the louder the rumors grow. What makes this even more explosive is that members of Congress have now confirmed the list exists. They know it's in those files. And while victims must be protected, the names of those who enabled or participated in Epstein's crimes are fair game. That's why lawmakers like Garcia keep hammering the point. These files aren't just about history, they're about accountability. Trump's resistance only deepens the mystery. If there's nothing to hide, why not release the files? Why risk turning his own allies against him just to keep those pages from the public eye? The truth is, once that list comes out, there will be no controlling the fallout. And Trump knows it, which is why, even as the pressure outside mounts inside the White House, he's scrambling harder than ever to keep control of what happens next. With Congress back in session and the media circling like sharks, Trump is running out of room to maneuver. The old playbook of distractions and stage stunts isn't working anymore. Every attempt to shift the spotlight just drags the Epstein files back into focus. Lawmakers are doubling down. They've made it clear that partial releases won't cut it, and every delay only sharpens their determination. Robert Garcia has vowed to fight until every last page is made public, including the client list. And while Bondi may feel safe for now, her role as gatekeeper means the pressure will soon land squarely on her shoulders. Behind the scenes, insiders describe a president scrambling to keep his inner circle from collapsing. Patel's loyalty has been tested, Bongino's influence has been undercut, and Bondi's rise has left fractures that may never heal. For a man who prides himself on control, Trump suddenly finds himself surrounded by instability. and no amount of spin can change the fact that the files exist. The question isn't if they'll come out, the question is when. And once they do, the fallout could shake the foundations of power far beyond Trump's circle. Because these documents don't just contain secrets about one man, they may expose an entire network of influence that has survived in the shadows for years. Donald Trump can try to silence critics, reshuffle allies, and drag out distractions, but none of it changes the truth. The Epstein files exist, and they will not stay hidden forever. Every testimony, every leak, every courtroom ruling has brought us one step closer to the moment when the full story finally breaks. The real question is not just what the files will reveal about Trump, but who else's name is buried in those pages, because if the rumors are even half true, the fallout won't stop at the White House. It could ripple through politics, entertainment, finance, exposing connections that some of the world's most powerful people would do anything to keep secret. For now, Trump may have chosen Bondi over Patel, and he may believe the storm has passed. But history shows that secrets of this scale never stay buried. And when the files do surface, no amount of spin or distraction will protect the people whose names appear inside. So the only thing left to ask is this: when the client list finally goes public, who will fall and who will still be standing?